I see that you're engaged. That ring is gorgeous. Aw.
Yes.
Hey, hey. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special interview today with Tina. If you've ever asked the question, can I find love? Why is it so hard to find love? Can I change the trajectory? Does my person even exist? Well, guess what? Your person does exist, and it doesn't matter what your background has been, how much you've struggled, what it was like, where you come from, what your culture is. At the end of the day, when you make a decision that you want a different life and you want a different way, then you can. So I'm so excited to introduce Tina D. Tina is 43. She lives in Brewster, New York. She's a consultant. And we came together because she wanted to find her soulmate and it wasn't working. But now it worked. Hi, Tina. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Bari.
Uh, so happy you're with us. So tell us from the beginning, like what was not working in your love life when you first came to me?
Oh, wow. I guess nothing was working in my love life, or nothing had worked in my love life for the entirety of my love life career, if I would to put it that way. I had tried everything, and from becoming a serial online dater, and for many years, and many different matchmaking agencies and so on and so forth, and all of the dating apps. Typically what was happening is that I did have a couple of really bad relationships. When I say bad, it was just not the right fit at all, but then I was kind of forcing it. Two of them being kind of emotionally, it was tough. And then of course one was right before I met you. The one that I had broken up from was also kind of it came close to be like, could have been physically bad, but it didn't.
Right.
So it was kind of a wake-up call right at that point, because by that time I was way over 40. I come from I'm an immigrant. I was born in India, and according to the Indian culture, I was definitely way over the hill. I'm just like done, right? I mean, there is not much hope left. So I was actually at kind of like I've given up in terms of the online. I've been scammed. I mean, I've gone through all of it, but I'm a survivor, so I do not like to kind of give up in terms of or quit very easily. In my life, every single facet had kind of worked out the way I had envisioned it, but this was the biggest facet that just never working the right way. What I did find out through your program is I wasn't approaching it the right way, right? So, and that is why it wasn't working. So when I met you, I was at a low point in terms of, okay, like, let me find, like, what else can I do? I've been in therapy for many years. I do advocate, I like therapy, conventional therapy, and that has helped me. But in this one facet, it was not like, you can't intellectually, you cannot kind of come up with a justification, right, of why you a chain of broken relationships.
Right.
And yeah, I found you, and I still remember the first conversation we had where even before I signed up, I remember filling out like a form online, and then you had contacted me. And then when we had that first call,
right, our strategy call.
Right. And then you were asking right there, you asked me some really hard-hitting questions in terms of, like, I remember in the beginning, you used to be like, why are you still single? And my stock answer was, well, I keep meeting, like, I just have no luck. And you were like, nope, like, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. What is the answer? What is the answer? Right. That kind of made me kind of like, okay, wait, what are you talking about? And then it forces you to think,
right,
and kind of yeah, so that really worked, and forces you to think I mean, I am a thinker. I'm almost an overthinker. I'm definitely I'm an overthinker.
right.
but it was it was a very unique way of kind of approaching something, where and I found that actually very fascinating, going through the class, how it was
Yeah.
set up, and kind of going through kind of like actually looking at yourself and actually focusing on the energy of yourself. Like that was a very big piece that I learned from your program.
Yeah.
And it that, and then figuring out our disempowering stories. I mean, there's so many. I guess the first piece that I would say that I was very, very surprised is when I joined in, I felt like there was already a community of
Yeah.
people.
Right. Right.
So till then, I guess I mean, most of my friends are married and have kids, or they have a boyfriend or whatever, right? And I've always been the one who's single.
Right.
And and I always thought, well, there's something wrong with me. But then when you get on a forum like this, you find I suddenly found that all these women who were from all over and all right, and the same kind of, and all ages, but there were of quite a few my age group as well, and we are all successful, intelligent women, but we're all in the same boat in terms of this, right? And
Right.
that kind of gives you a sense of, I mean, sadly, but a sense of comfort. It's like you're not the only one.
Right. That you're not alone, that this
Yeah,
problem of having healthy love be elusive, there's more under the surface. It's not that there aren't healthy men out there. It's not that the dating sites are a problem. It's not that, you're a good person. I'm a good spiritual, intellectual, smart person, but love isn't working. So there has to be something else that's not
right,
working. Right? Right.
right.
And then you were courageous and you're a learner and you were open and you showed up. You showed up.
Yes, I feel like that the whole technique of how we went through the program, right? Me being a learner, and also it was a very, like, I had never thought about things in that manner. So it was kind of very interesting to me, right? It was a new way of looking at my life events, and kind of that whole manifestation, I guess, right?
Right.
Really, like it was kind of, I was acting it out.
Right.
And in that manifestation, I remember that whole dating yourself concept was amazing. So when I went through that, and I kind of, like, you kind of take charge of it yourself,
Right.
and along with that, with the manifestation, the energy, and like you kept us on track with that intent
That's
of,
right.
don't go with biases of, hey, match.com is crap, or something else is not working, right? It's like,
That's
just
right.
go in with the belief that, you are not less than any, like, you are a significant soul in this world, just like so many, all the billions of people. And there's somebody out there for you as well. So
But there's a block in finding that person because when we've been to therapy, we kind of intellectualize, well, I must be okay because I'm smart and I'm a good person and I'm a loving person. But we discover like really the things that are hidden from our view that are getting in the way. And then, right, we clear those things that allow us.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that like I had intellectualized to, like, I can write a PhD in
Right, right.
in terms of my life progression. So, but this was like I said, it's a completely new approach, and kind of how we look at things, and it kind of hones into one area. And one of the biggest things that I did take away early on was that, and I think you had mentioned in one of the classes, like, I used to be pretty blasé. It's like I used to be like, oh, I can fun, but maybe not everybody's meant to find a love, like it's fine if I'm single, I've accepted it. I have other things to do, the guy is not the end all be all. And then you had said, well, no, it's kind of like very very basic need of human beings to find a mate. And why are you going to kind of shy away from that or not feel good even expressing it? So I think this was the first time that I kind of told myself, no, I want to complete myself in that sense. And it is absolutely fine for me to express that, believe that. And in terms of the steps that we went through in the program, it was like progressively, I felt like we were building that build, right?
That's right.
So, yeah, it worked. It absolutely worked. And thank you.
Of course. So now tell us the fun stuff. So Tina went through the program. She cleared the barriers, both the practical barriers, the thinking barriers, the blind spots, some cultural things, cultural beliefs, fears, limitations. And then we learn how, because then she became ready to actually find her love. And she did.
Yes.
So tell us how you met him.
He was the third person that I met after I did your program, right after we graduated. And it's kind of like that whole clarity thing, like dating. I remember was the first two that I met right after was like immediately, like one of them, I didn't even order the beer. I was like, thank you so much. Wonderful to meet you. Nothing here. Bye-bye. So it was because, I mean, I kind of had that almost that confidence in myself to kind of completely not see through bullshit, but just see through that this is not for me, right?
Right, because you learned what you needed, and you learned how to find him, and Tina learned how to be an empowered dater, which was
empowered dater. Yeah, that caption always makes me feel like Wonder Woman, but actually did, right? Because yeah, I mean, I met him on Bumble, and I met him on it was always a little different with him because he kind of didn't push stuff. And as we started talking on a Tuesday, we said, okay, let's meet up. We met on a Friday, and ever since then, we just have not stopped talking for a single day.
That's right. So it happens quickly once you have clarity and you're inviting in the right person that aligns. And this is something that we do with a whole body of work of being an empowered dater. So what do you adore about him? Like what's wonderful about him?
Oh.
And how do you feel with him?
I feel like he's what I adore about him is that he is, other than the fact that he's super cute, is he's a highly intelligent man, but at the same time, not at the same time, the endearing thing about him is he's extremely kind. He's a very, very kind soul. He's an animal, like we connected with animals, with even though he's not Indian, he's born here, he's from Pennsylvania, he's like it's I mean, and that also rural Pennsylvania. And so in terms of kind of culturally, are we aligned? No, but as human beings, our stories have been, he's the same age as me. I'm 5 weeks older than him. It's kind of like when we talked about our lives, it was, we were like kind of, it's the same parallel in terms of how, being a go-getter, me getting myself like where I am today by myself, him doing the same thing. It's like, it's kind of, we had the similar stories, and within all of that, he values human connection and kind of the respect that he has for all like people and just relationships and how we kind of connect and interact with other people is one of the pieces that I really, really admire in him. I mean, for example, it's like one of the telling things that I have is like, how does one treat the wait staff at a restaurant, right? And so little things like that is, and then he rescues cats.
Oh, I love him. Right.
Yes. So it's kind of, but he is a thermal fluid dynamics engineer. So he's
smart.
He's an extremely smart guy, brilliant mind, but at the same time, he has that balance. So I feel like intellectually we definitely did connect right away, but also in terms of life visions. I mean, right at the first date, I remember we sat down, and because we didn't talk on the phone or anything before, like it was just that app and texting in that app and saying, hey, we are going to meet. And he didn't even push it. Like he didn't get in touch with me, nothing like that. It was just, we confirmed, yep, we're meeting, and we met.
And as an empowered dater, you knew exactly how to share and ask and get to what you needed to find out.
And he made it easy, because as soon as we sat down, he said, oh, so what's your story? And I was like, yeah. And I started saying my story, but we were there for 4 hours, and we went back and forth, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, I feel like the intent was one of the first things that I shared with him in the first date itself, saying that, at this age,
your vision, you shared your vision, right?
Yeah. And he was right there.
Right.
And one of the things that I kind of always remind myself that I learned with you was, you can never say the wrong thing to the right person. And I taught him that. I told him that. I think I told him that I had just completed a program like this with you, right? And he was interested in it because he had done some like for his management, he had done some emotional intelligence thing with HBR before. So he was kind of like not the exact thing, of course, but he understood like that energy thing.
Yeah.
So, and then I used to, in the beginning, even though it was so easy with him, of course, I was in the beginning, I was living a lot in my head, right? And kind of in terms of the communication or should I say, or should I not say? So all those old fears kind of come up. But I think the program was, and also the folks that I met through the program, right? My accountability partners, they super I mean, they completely helped me in every step in that situation. So because you kind of feel like you have I know we have best friends and good friends, but not everybody is going through the same thing, right?
That's
but
right.
You make friends who are going through the same thing, and they want, it's almost like we are cheering each other on.
Totally.
Right? Yeah. So no, it was a very, very good experience for me, for sure.
And how do you feel with him?
I feel like I tell him, like, why did you show up before? Like, we wasted like 20 years. But but like he says that, like, I mean, of course we wouldn't have known, like, gone for each other. I don't think we would have even gone for each other 20 years ago, because neither one of us were ready.
That's right.
I seriously feel that I have found my best friend in him.
Aww.
And it's just easy, I have, from day one, I never felt like there was either any kind of a tension, or any kind of pressure,
right,
with him, and I mean, I did get engaged, but we've been talking about this because it's been an amazingly eventful year, right?
Yes.
There's so much that went on, and
a lot happens. Yes.
Yeah. So, and we went through so much together that I feel like, and we were right there. I feel like a lot of people would not have been able to go through all that like so early on in the relationship, right? And
Right,
we kind
right.
of like
Like
survived
a
it.
death of a parent and a
Yeah, I
lot.
mean, the sickness, his father falling ill, the diagnosis, and then the family figuring it out. And then, I was with him for every step, and it kind of happened like a month and a half into meeting
Yeah.
him. And then my mother going into a tailspin. So we both have elderly parents, and then eventually his father, passing away. So it was just like, whoa. But in all of that, I feel like we, of course, definitely came together stronger.
Yes.
But in all of that, we never drifted apart. There was not any time that I would say that, okay, I can give time to him or this, because I felt like we are doing this together.
Together.
So, from that perspective, I was the one who proposed.
See, you can
And
have it the way you want it. That's right. There's no conventional wisdom. Love is love, and connection, healthy connection is healthy connection. So yeah, so tell us what that was.
the reason I was still in the conventional thinking in terms of, okay, right, but we've gone through so much, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's got, you need to do some kind of a Bollywood type of the romantic gesture, which asking from an engineer is a very tall order. Like that was no. Like, I've shown him some Bollywood stuff. He like watched it with me, and then he's like, okay, fine. Like you can go away and do your Bollywood thing, but that's not going to come from me. And I feel there was one point in all of these conversations that he kind of, I think, appealed to my, I think he knows how to play me, because he kind of said, that you are an independent, intelligent woman who's always gone after what you wanted and achieved it. And, this is what you want. So why can't you do it? Right. So I felt like that was kind of, tempting me, because it's like, you don't challenge my independence, and kind of say, you don't dare me. So I took it as a dare, and I write, and he likes to read what I write. So I basically wrote him a poem.
Oh,
Yeah, we were up at his mother's in Pennsylvania, and it just felt right. But I didn't have the rings because I didn't know his size. So there was a few and like false starts, but ultimately, yeah, it was a poem. And then it was not meant to be like, my poem didn't say, oh, will you marry me? It was just like a thing, like,
yeah.
but then he took it as, oh, we're engaged. I was like, seriously? Like, yeah, let's go get the ring. Like, he had the ring, but then I picked out like a real one for myself. So yeah, and hey, I feel like we did it together. It's like one of the things that we have, or I guess and it's taken me a while to kind of get adjusted to it, because I have been alone for the last 20 or more than 20 years, right? Like I'm so used to like being that one person who's relying only on myself, but he constantly uses, instead of I or you, it's always from him. It's always like us. We are going to do this. Us. Like he just bought a new truck, and he was like, yeah, we have to go to the truck. It's our truck. You know what I mean? He kind of has actually taught me how to, rely, or kind of also think as a unit. I know the core of my piece was like, I always wanted a unit of my own.
Yeah,
But, having that as a theory, but when I was actually not really good at kind of work, like executing it with him, because I would always say, oh, you got to do this, I have to do that, or I have to go back to my house, or this is something that I need to take care of. But he is very good at turning that around, where it's like, we do this.
So for the independent women out there, you learn how to become a we, right?
And I mean, it's like, and I mean, every once in a while I do turn around and tell them, it's like, oh, really? We do this? Like, I don't have to go take care of this myself, because that's what I do, right? I just drop everything, and I'm not used to asking anyone, or I just take care of it, right? Being it my mother, being it all my, my responsibilities, whatever it might be, right? So, but even with the sale of my house, it was kind of like, I was able to kind of like talk to him. And he's like, yeah, we're going to do that. Like, even now, right now, I'm in the midst of packing because next week I'm moving. And I was just telling him yesterday, I called the guy to kind of go through some of the junk that I'm going to throw away. And I was telling him, I said, oh, he's going to come and kind of throw the junk. And he goes, well, let me come and check it out. We should go through it.
Oh.
And we should go through my stuff too, and then decide which ones you're going to throw. So it's kind of like, I'm still learning to always keep that at the forefront, right? But it's just like, when I said I wanted a unit, I feel like he totally heard me.
Of course.
Is giving me that unit.
So in the beginning of the program, when we first get together, we discover things from our past that have held us back.
Yes.
And we create really the future once we've cleared the past. So one of the things we discover is how we want to feel in a relationship. So do you remember how you wanted to feel?
My empowering story? No, it was the words. There were some key words that we came up with. Yes. But do I remember those keywords right now?
You don't have to. How do you feel with him emotionally? It sounds like you feel safe and connected, right?
Yes. I mean, right now with him emotionally, yes. I completely feel at ease. And there is kind of like, I am who I am. And I know that this person is always going to watch my back, catch me when I fall. And there's just a real, that restlessness that I always had within me, and not in just this love aspect, but generally I feel like that he calms me down. That's one of the biggest thing that he does do.
Finding love is like a learnable skill. Getting to wholeness is not something we learn from school. So right. You can have PhD in thermonuclear engineering. You can be a consultant, but we don't learn it. So what are you now most excited about? You have a sweet, loving, smart, compassionate guy that you're going to marry. What are you most excited about?
I am excited about kind of, building that unit together. Like I had always envisioned like my team, and we are talking about like, I mean, I'm going to be moving in next week. In a week and a half, I'll be living out of there. So it's pretty life-changing in terms of what is happening. I did go through all of those fears of kind of, initially was like, even though everything was so great, that was one thing that I kept doing was living in my head in terms of the relationship, right? And kind of having that fear about, second guessing myself, or even reading too much into what he was saying.
Right.
So we did have, the communication adjustment, right? I mean, he keeps saying that it's kind of like, playing Jenga, like trying to fit in what, like his brain with my brain, and trying to figure out how we communicate. And I feel like that is, it's a work in progress, right? I mean, I'm not marrying my twin. But I'm excited about that, and trying to figure out. One of the biggest fears that I did have when we did decide to kind of sell my place and me moving in there, we will eventually be getting our own place together. But my fear was like, oh, my stuff, like furniture, right? That negotiation. of my stuff and his stuff and what will we keep and not keep. And I made an entire list and I kind of mapped it out of where what is going. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be tough. Like, what if he doesn't agree? Like, what should I do? Like, but how will I handle that? But thankfully, he agreed with everything. I was like,
Of course.
so that was that was like, like I made it such a big thing in my head. But now, we have gone through, like, it's been so intense for us this entire year. So it's kind of like right before Thanksgiving, I'm going to be living like there, and like we're going to start. And I'm looking forward to the holidays and kind of like just settling in, with my animals and his animals. And it's like we have a unit.
Unit.
Yeah. So that's important. And I feel like both of us he's been like excited about he's like he can't wait for it. He's been wanting me to do this like I think 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, for sure.
But, for me, it's a lot of logistical pieces. My mother settling her was a very, very big thing. And but he's kind of been there right, like there, like silently there. If I need him, he's there. But if not, he's like, I know that he's there. You know what I mean? So
and he speaks up. Let's go through this stuff together. Yes,
Yes, that he definitely does. Yeah.
So Tina, are you planning at some point this wedding? Is there going to be like an Indian wedding? What's it going to be like? I'm excited for you.
So this is a novel idea. Nobody told me about this, right? I didn't know that once you tell people you're engaged, the first question that comes out of their mouth is, oh, what is the big day? I mean, that's what happened when we kind of called up like his mother and my mother. And, his mother, the first thing is like, oh, do we have a date? And I'm like, wait a minute. I just like went through this whole idea. Like, I just got engaged. Like, can I just like have fun with that for a second?
You can.
Yeah, no, I don't, my vision of getting married was always a Carrie, Mr. Big kind of city hall thing, right? That was all. But I feel like I want to keep it simple. I feel like that I will still do that, but I feel like there's going to be some sort of a party that has to happen for friends and family, because and I feel like he kind of wants to have a party, which I was like, oh really? Like all right, so we do that. I guess it's going to be fusion. Nothing traditionally. I mean, as you know, I'm not traditionally Indian, if culturally, of course, but
right.
So yeah, I mean, but
you can have it the way you want it.
Yes, exactly.
The way you want it.
Way I want it, yes. But having thought about it, we kind of have been forced to, because people keep asking us.
Right.
And looked at me the other day and he goes, we don't have any bandwidth to think about this right now, do we? And I'm like, nope, we don't.
Because the most important thing is that you have each other.
Yeah. I mean, in my brain, it's like I'm moving in. In my brain, I'm already married. It's kind of like, right. I have to get married to kind of include the family and the friends, and it'll just be a celebration. Yeah. So
that's right. And that's how it was for me too. It was just finding the guy, just having the guy.
Yeah, like it says, like when you know, and
that's right.
It sounds an extreme cliche, but I feel like I knew. I feel like both of us knew. And it was, because I remember I met him in January, and after the first date, we never stopped talking. But our second date, we were supposed to meet up the weekend after, and there was an ice storm here, so we couldn't meet up. But instead of meeting in person, we had a 7-hour FaceTime date. It was like and I'm like, seriously? Like, so it's just, and initially we used to tell each other, like, are we going to ever get bored talking? Because we talk nonstop, like we talk.
That's it. That's how it is, right?
No, I haven't gotten bored yet. Neither has he. So
I'm married 18 years and we never get bored of talking. My husband's just out. He went swimming. We're gonna talk all night. That's what it's really like. So Tina, what do you want to tell other singles about investing in themselves and getting support? Smart, successful singles about having help.
I will say that, yes, it's kind of, just like we go to the spa, we go to, and now with post-COVID, the culture of taking care of our mental health and our physical health and all of those things. I think this kind of, at least in my experience, this was very much in line with that, right? So I mean, yeah, like I said, I've tried professional therapy, but this is not therapy, right? This is kind of like charting the way for your future, right? Which is
Right.
like being with somebody or finding a partner is a big piece of that, right? So
That's right.
I feel like this was an investment that I truly don't regret for a single moment, right? Because it kind of like just helped to clear out the barriers that were there in the brain and the energy. So there's so many layers to it,
So
but
many.
as just like, I will use the example of kind of like nowadays, I don't feel, initially I thought that, oh, I'm the woman, I can't propose. When I've on the other side of it, when people are asking us, oh, so how did he do it? Guess what?
I did it.
I say, I did it. Why is he gonna do it, right? Because, and that kind of like, it gets reaction like, oh wow, of course. Some people were like, oh, of course you'll do it, because you kind of like, you are always that feminist, although I'm not so much super whatever, right? Like I'm come across as that go-getter, independent, strong person, right? So of course I'll do it. So it's kind of like in that line where this kind of also is not, at least for me, I did not know something like this existed, right? Before, like what you offer is a pretty unique take in approaching it. So I feel like this is also, it was completely worth it. And it's kind of like, you need to, if you are at that stage where you have tried everything, or you've gone through the whole gamut, and you're still sitting there wondering and asking yourself, what is wrong with me? That's not the right question to ask yourself, because there's nothing wrong with us, right? In any situation in life, we just have to figure out how to navigate it. And this was the forum where I was able to kind of find that navigation tools. I think that's what happened to me. So yeah, it's kind of like, and it not just, it helps with finding a guy. Yeah, I mean, of course, I found Levi, but that is the main focus. But I feel like it also kind of has a ripple effect in other facets of one's life. So but just like you say, right in the beginning, I remember in the very first call that we did, you said, but you have to be ready for it. So it's not a miracle recipe. One has to be fully vested and in oneself to believe and go through the program. And I think that was the biggest shift. And you, of course, helped through the process in terms of reminding us of how to, keep with it.